We had our investor lined out, but he wouldn't solidify the deal with us until he tried the donuts. He came in, sat down, had a donut, said nothing, and left. And he texted us later, and he was like, that's one of the best donuts I've ever had in my life. Let's go.
The following is a Big Sky Economic Development production.
It's Mars B.
And Kavo.
And this is The Vault at 201 North Broadway.
A business podcast.
Where we bring you entrepreneurs, small business owners, and community leaders of Montana.
To share their stories, expertise, industry insights, and strategies.
And we are sharing them all with you every single week.
You don't want to miss this.
Learn how to better start, manage, and grow your business.
And your leadership style.
Tangible takeaways to save you time and improve whatever it is that you're working on.
You're listening to The Vault.
Thank you to the Small Business Development Center for sponsoring The Vault at 201 North Broadway. The Small Business Development Center offers free personalized support from business plans to financial projections and beyond, empowering small businesses to thrive. Reach out to us at bigsky.economicdevelopment.org. Five years ago, these passionate individuals embarked on a journey that started right in their own kitchen. What began as a whimsical dream soon transformed into a weekly tradition of testing recipes on friends and family. Today, we are thrilled to hear their story, unravel the sweet secrets of their success, and get a taste of what's next for this Montana-born and raised culinary gentlemen, Klay and Trevan with Proof Donuts.
Welcome.
That's quite the introduction.
Yeah, that was clean. That was one shot, one take. That was clean.
That was really great, Kayla.
Thank you. I try.
That was wonderful.
We have some practice. This is season 2.
Yeah, you got to be how many episodes deep now?
30-some.
Yeah, we're 36.
That's what's up.
So before we came on air, you guys were talking a little bit, and I didn't let you continue because I wanted it to be here. But how did you guys meet? Like, tell us your background story. I'm so curious.
It's very sweet.
I tell
And
everybody
then-
you got a real
very
cute
sweet.
backstory.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we wanna
it's
hear
the
it.
beginning of a movie.
So the bell rings, right? Ring, 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 ring. First day of kindergarten.
Yeah. The real talk.
Here we are, right?
Okay.
And that's it. We met growing up, you know.
In kindergarten.
Yeah, we had a kindergarten class together. And
We grew
then-
up in Lockwood together.
Yeah, out in Lockwood. And then from there, we, got in the same sports, hung out with the same people. We lived a block away from each other, and just became the best of friends ever since. And then the story kind of keeps going, and there's a part where we separate, and then we find each other again.
Right? It's
Yeah.
like the
It's just
perfect
sweet.
story, the
Yeah.
perfect movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, my mom always calls Trevan her bonus kid.
Aw.
Yeah, anytime she talks about Trevan, she's like, yeah, my son and my bonus son started a business together. And Trevan spent a lot of time at our house. Every baseball team, every basketball team, every football team, we played together. His brother was my baseball coach, and while we were on the same team at one point, his grandmother, who practically raised him, was also the lunch lady at our school. So we saw her every single day while we were in
That
line.
means you guys got extra food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the extra good, cookie
Yeah.
left.
If you saw us
yeah.
back
You know what I
then,
mean?
you'd see how
Yeah.
we got extra food.
She used to cut my spaghetti in line, though. And I would be
Uh-huh.
like, Grandma, stop cutting my spaghetti. I just want to eat it like the other kids.
we're all like,
We want our spaghetti
Yeah.
cut.
And now you're
Excuse
sitting
me?
here like, I really wish I didn't have spaghetti hitting me in the face all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Where's Grandma to
Yeah.
cut my spaghetti? Have you ever seen people cut their spaghetti with scissors? Those psychopaths.
where they wait. Is it where they pick it up with a fork and then cut it? What is that
think
about?
What is that?
How many
Yeah.
utensils do you need?
You have to do the spoon and the fork twist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm too OCD to like dirty scissors too.
Yeah.
I just can't.
No.
So you guys, just your friendship grew
Yeah.
as you grew up. Did you do any side hustle kind of things growing up in the summers, or was it just sports and school?
There was one thing that we talk about that was a side hustle as kids, and we actually sold dollar store items out of this guy's van.
Oh,
Yeah,
Not your
hindsight.
You're the reason why they have all those memes and
Right,
warnings.
yeah. Hindsight, that was a very terrible thing to be a part of. But at the time, we were making $100 a day.
oh my gosh!
I
a
know,
flaming house.
right? And it was that was big money to a fourth grader.
Yeah, that was big money to a
$100
fourth
back
grader.
then.
Oh, yeah. We were rolling in the dough.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden that vanished, and we're like, yeah, that was weird.
Yeah. Everybody was always wondering why the sticker machine at Skate World was empty, and that was because of me and Trevan. So.
That was another side hustle. I used to buy all the stickers. We would buy all the stickers.
And then sell them.
yeah.
Stickers were a thing, though.
Stickers were a thing.
Sticker books.
50
where you
cents a
take
sticker.
The
Oh,
sticker,
yeah.
put it in the Yeah.
Oh, the binders and everything.
Before water bottles, before
Right.
anyone carried a water bottle
Yeah.
with them.
50 cents a sticker, and depending on the sticker, you go flip one of those for $6 of somebody else's lunch money. And
Oh,
Yeah.
if it's shiny.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, shiny
That's like
stickers.
Pokemon cards.
100%.
Everyone knows if they're like holographic, those things were worth stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
They
Even if you
still
didn't
are to
know,
this
you were
day.
like, it's shiny.
It's,
So wait, so you guys, what happens when you graduate from high school?
So
Is
actually,
that when the little split happens?
the
I have
split-
to ask about it. You brought it up.
I know, right?
Yeah.
The split happened after 8th grade.
Oh,
So yeah, he went to
okay.
Skyview, which is out in the Heights. I went to
Yeah.
Senior, which is the inner city school, right?
I begged my parents to let me go to Senior, and it's just safe to say, besides Trevan, I was getting tied up with some people that I shouldn't have been tied up with, and my dad would not let me go. So 95% of our class went to Senior. All my friends, 4 of us went to Skyview. I was one of them, and I wasn't like really
Wow.
tight with any of them. So I literally got all my friends ripped out from under me, had to go to Skyview, where I was just Tyler's little brother. Tyler's my older brother, which is great. I used to hate that. Now I love it when somebody tells me I'm Tyler's little brother. I'm like, hell yeah.
Yes, I
sorry.
am.
And so then we got separated for a long time, and then we graduated school, and he went to Boise to go to school, and I left to go run a bar out in the middle of nowhere, and then
Where's that middle
Where's
of
out in the
nowhere?
middle?
it's out by Colstrip, Montana, in between Colstrip and Lame Deer. It's a little
Okay.
hole in the wall bar called Jimtown Bar.
Oh wow,
It's a
okay.
pretty wild place, or it was anyways.
Yeah,
Now
I
it's
bet
pretty
it
chill
is
these days,
with
but
that location.
yeah, but my brother and his wife now run it, and I did for like 6 years when I was pretty young, so got that business experience. And Trevan was playing rugby and stuff in Boise, and
Oh, rugby.
yeah,
But
So
we don't have.
intense.
Do you have? Billings doesn't have rugby. Do we?
They do actually. Yeah, there's.
They do have
I
a
can't believe I. Okay,
Yeah.
it's
so-
just like rec though,
but
isn't
it's
it?
not. It's not something that I was ever familiar with. But it's before I came back and played with them for a little bit. But it's
Yeah.
more of like a club team, the Billings Bulls,
Mhm.
and they used to be like a force to be reckoned with.
Oh, wait,
in,
yeah, I've heard of them.
in
Yeah.
the 80s.
Okay.
Yeah, so like separate from the hockey team. I'm not sure why they all choose the same name, but the Bulls in the 80s were like the rugby team in Montana, which I didn't hear
Oh,
about rugby
yeah.
growing up and that stuff. But there's actually one of the biggest rugby gatherings in the country is in Missoula every year.
Huh.
It's called Maggot Fest.
Oh,
the,
yeah.
yeah, the Missoula Maggots put
Yes.
it on.
What a fascinating
I
mascot
know,
name.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they would do that, and that would.
It's insane.
it is insane.
It is an insane festival.
So
And
you played at college.
I played in college. Yeah, and that's where I kind of like got my love for it. I wish I would have kept playing, but there's a lot of alcohol involved at water breaks. I couldn't keep up anymore. So,
It's like, or it's like a very physical sport.
It's
As
very
you get
physical.
older, you just have to make.
It's
like,
how
Yeah.
you don't feel the pain that ensues in rugby, I think.
Right.
Yeah, no pads, no nothing.
Yeah. you're
like
just-
but
little,
that
little
like
booty shorts.
that part of it keeps. Oh, the shorts are the best part, man. Yeah,
So
skies out,
freeing.
thighs out.
Yeah, there you go.
But the thing about rugby that's like different is people aren't throwing themselves at each other because they have all this armor on.
Yeah.
So people aren't like trying to just hurt you because they're gonna get hurt too if they do
Yeah.
that. But it is still super physical,
Pretty
but
brutal.
super fun. Yeah.
My first rugby game I ever went to, it was a high school match, and a kid's ear got partially ripped off in the first 5 minutes.
Okay.
And then another guy's knee was blown out. And
Oh.
so it's like,
So just an everyday rugby.
I
match.
was just sitting there and I was like, this is intense. Like, this person's like bleeding
yeah.
out of his ear.
You see those professional rugby players though; they got like athletic tape, just like taping their head back together, and then they just get back in again.
They are a
Yeah.
different
It's like
breed.
suck it up.
They're like with
Different
hockey
breed.
players. They're
Yes,
like up on that line
so
that I
crazy.
couldn't play hockey, not because it was expensive, but because those guys are nuts.
I also like my teeth too, and
Yeah.
I don't feel like they get to keep them.
no, nor do they want
No,
to. Really,
no,
it's like a
it's a-
badge of honor.
Badge of
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're in Boise. You're in Jim's bar.
Yeah, Jimtown. Yeah, it's outside of
Jimtown.
Colstrip. It's okay.
Jimtown.
it's a weird name.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
really
I just
weird.
haven't heard of that one.
I'm at a
Very
bar in the middle of
familiar.
nowhere is
Yeah,
where I was at,
yeah.
It's actually world renowned. Yeah,
I bet
It
it
is.
It's in
is.
the Guinness Book of World Records.
We do have it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
for the tallest stack of beer cans in the world.
It's really something to be known for.
Yeah, right before we bought it, the EPA stepped in and told them that they had to take it down. So I never got to see it in person,
it.
but we still hold the world record. I don't know if anybody is going for it. I would assume either Russia or Germany. Somebody's going for it, but yeah, it's
Oktoberfest. I'm really surprised
yeah.
that they don't like get you on that one.
I don't know. There's been like books written about the bar. There's
wow.
been a bunch of different documentaries done on
Cool.
it. You know, like the craziest bars in the U.S. were in that book. You know, in those ones as well. So it's definitely a very characterized place.
A
for sure.
destination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Oh, we have people who show up. There's dollar bills strapped to the ceiling of people who sign stuff. Like, we've had famous people come through the bar that have stopped in there, and it's definitely a whole different world. Like, it's legitimately a whole different world, and it's pretty great.
We're going to have to make a road trip.
I know.
Yeah.
We're going to.
Yeah. We used to have 4 Cane Corso Italian Mastiffs that were our guard dogs.
Oh,
up there.
wow.
They have all passed on now. We put the last 2 of them down last year. Yeah, they were just, those big dogs. They just don't make it the distance, like a lot of other dogs do. But our biggest one was 210 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
He was huge.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Even our smallest one was the same size as me. She was like 165 pounds. But we had Midori, Crown Royal, Jack Daniels, and Jim Beam.
So great dog names.
Great dog
Right.
names.
The
And
bar.
Especially for a bar, yeah.
yeah. And now I have one here. I fell in love with the breed. So now I have Clark Kent here. So
We're going to need to see
Superman.
pictures before you leave today.
You got it.
We'll
I
have to
got
share
it.
them on the social.
100%.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
They're very
We're big dog
characterized
people.
animals for sure.
That's really fun. So did you enjoy Boise?
I loved Boise. Yeah, Boise was awesome. I enjoyed it a little too much. I went for college, but I didn't do a lot of college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
I had
that's
fun.
a college thing.
I think that is
happens.
too. Yeah. I wish I would have known that more people did that because I felt kind of bad afterwards.
Yeah.
I was like, I kind of just went to have fun and didn't really pay attention and this stuff. Little did I know that everybody does that, but they just kind of like snap back into it instead of going, I don't think this is for me, which I really don't think it was. I learned my life lessons and things working more so, and I really enjoyed doing that. I was never really like a classroom guy. Growing up, even I was like class clown and not paying attention and doing things like that. Yeah, absolutely. So when I did go, it was kind of like because I had to.
Yeah,
you
thought
that
was your
was like
path.
that
Yeah.
was what
was exactly.
instilled.
And then I found out that wasn't it. So came back home and tried school more at home and
realized it wasn't just a
yeah.
Boise thing.
Yeah, exactly. Realized that wasn't the thing.
So when did you guys reconnect?
I got this one.
Got it.
Okay, so I was over at Jake's, and I had known that Trevan was in town. Yeah, Jake's downtown, working for Kathy Bolin and Scott Burby at the time. And I had known that Trevan was around town, but our paths hadn't like really crossed again.
They crossed a lot.
Which
they were never at the same
telling
time.
stories now.
Yeah. Like we talk
It's
about
crazy.
those times in between. We're like, wait, you were there? Like when was that? Because it was like we would miss each other by like an hour for years.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And
I
you
know
were like
that sounds
same
wild,
town,
right?
same thing.
It was weird.
Yeah.
All the same friends. It was really weird, especially now that we talk about it more. It's crazy how I'm like, what? Like I'll be like, you should have been at this place, and he's like, I was there, and I'm like, what? It's just wild. But Scott came to me, and I had just kind of gotten promoted to one of the head bartenders, training under Tom Paxinos and those guys at Jake's downtown, and Travis Salvain. Those guys like really teaching me the ways of bartending. I was still pretty young at that time, and Scott said, hey, you're one of the only head bartenders now. We got to bring somebody else on. I just recruited this guy from over at Walker's. He's not a bartender. He's a mixologist, which if anybody knows the difference, there's a mad step above that. It's like the difference between being a cook and being a chef. There's just a difference. There's a passion, that level of passion that hits it. And so he was like, hey, he's going to really bring it in. He's going to start mixing stuff up. I want you to follow his lead and learn from him. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. What's his name? And he goes, Trevan? And I was like,
Maybe
I only
that's why you're
know
so
one.
familiar to me from Walker's.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
worked there for a long time.
I love Walker's.
He was the guy killing it over there. He's one of the guys who helped build 10 when 10 first opened, and really like bring in that level of stuff. And so there was, it was kind of like this aura, like of like knowing that he was in town, but I never got to see him kind of thing. And it was so awesome because it's this movie like scene. I was in the Jake's Saloon, which is that piece at the end of the hallway. And then there's the main bar. And I'm standing in the saloon talking to Scott Burby, and he says, Trevan, he'll be here any minute. And I was like, oh man, I only know one Trevan, and he's one of my best friends from when I grew up. I haven't seen him in like probably almost a decade. And he was like, oh, and I look down the hallway, and as I look down the hallway, Trevan walks into the hallway and turns and looks at me, and I just pointed at him. And he pointed at me, and we met in the hallway and hugged, and I was like, dude, we're about to, like, it's so good to see you. Like, we're about to be the head bartenders together. This is crazy. Like, so wild that life brought us back together.
And he goes, excuse me, I'm a mixologist.
Yeah. No, he's not like that.
No.
He's not like that. This dude will not let you
And we
will
want to
not
know
let
how
you talk him
that
up.
skill
I don't
came
like that
about,
word.
too.
He doesn't.
I don't.
He's modest to a fault probably. Anytime I try to talk him up, he like looks at me like stop. But he's just not like that. He's not that kind of a person. He's not arrogant or doesn't bring that to the table. So in ways I'm his confidence, in a lot of ways he's mine, which is great. So, but yeah, it was really great to like take that off and just really start learning from him. And it was so crazy, like feeling like childhood again, because it was my best friend that I had been best friends with since I was 5 got separated from for a decade, and now like life just randomly brought us back together. And that was almost at the exact same time that I started working on donuts at my house, making the worst donuts in the world. That's how you got to get to good ones.
Yes.
And he was starting to do this crazy idea that I could not understand, which was the blind bison, which was a pop-up. And I, at the time, I was like, I didn't understand what was going on or how that works or anything. So we started doing those hustles, like, you know, working off of each other. He was working on his blind bison and teaching me how to be a mixologist. And if they ever needed my help, I'd try to help as much as I could or just learn. And he was encouraging me to keep chasing the donut thing. So we worked side by side on our own things before one day it was like a light bulb where we were like, why don't we just do this together? Like, and it was crazy because as soon as we started, I had been struggling to get Proof off the ground for 5 years. It had changed names 3 times. I had had different partners and decided to quit a couple different times and stuff.
Wait, what's with the backup just really quickly? Why donuts? I mean, I love your donuts. I have one sitting upstairs on my desk.
Nice.
But why? Like, what's with the donuts?
You know, it's really simple. I used to travel with my friends and my family and stuff, and when we would go to these places, what made it unique was going to speakeasies, going to hole-in-the-wall donut shops or gourmet donut shops mostly, not necessarily hole-in-the-wall, but these taco joints that were off the map and these burger places and stuff. And it was always cool to go on vacation and feel like that was an experience. And one day I was just like, what if we don't have to go anywhere to get that experience? What if we could bring it home? You know, people always talk about we could be that experience.
Billings,
and that was never something I realized. Like I was always like, I have to go to it. Instead, I was like, maybe I could create it here and bring that to people, because I would talk to people about opening a gourmet donut shop here, and people were like, Krispy Kreme failed, don't do it, you know, kind of thing.
We've got
and
Log
I was like,
Cabin.
it's not the same. Like it's not the same, you know. And that's totally okay. There's just different genres of music. There's different genres of food, everything. So I just tried to bring it back here, and that kind of inspired me to do that. I knew I wanted to be a business owner when I came back home from running the bar, and was always kind of waiting for my opportunity. And then when I did come back home, I was like, I'm going to give it a shot. But it wasn't like, hey, let's do this, and then it went. You know, it was treading water, almost drowning several different times, had to go through putting money into it, losing it, putting faith into it, losing it, all of those things, you know. I guess kind of paying your dues in the way that you don't realize until you get to a place where it starts to get bigger, and you're like, oh man, like I really had to go through that to get here, and now I appreciate this with every bit of my heart, because at times it was so wrenching that I was like, I'm not doing this anymore.
For
every emotion.
For 5 years, yeah.
Wow, and you just
And
kept
I have no
plowing on.
culinary experience at all. It was YouTube, Google, Reddit forums, all that stuff. I didn't know what proofing dough was for the first almost 2 years. So I was making these garbage donuts. Like,
you were just going for it.
With my family trying to talk me out of it. Honestly, my friends trying to talk me out of it, you know, because they care. They don't want to see me keep going through this heartbreak.
And they're really tired of eating these really terrible donuts, I bet.
They started to take a turn.
It's what's great is they never pretended like they liked them. I said honest reviews are the only thing I like. So they were very forward, and which I appreciate every bit of that. And
you wouldn't have what you have today because of if they were giving you false criticism or critiques.
Yeah, but then when I decided to partner with Trevan, it was also at the time that people told me, like, dude, stop taking partners. Like, just do it yourself. That's a lot of burden to take on as yourself.
Yeah.
And now I realize, like, how much of an asset partners can be, you know, because you don't bring on a partner to help you with things or to, you know, you do in a little bit to bring on the journey with you, but you find somebody who counteracts your weaknesses. And then you're like, you fix a weakness about me, which Trevan was my confidence. I at this time was just beaten down. I was done, you know, and then Trevan one day was like, hey man, like, don't worry about it. You can quit. I'll never forget this. And he goes, hey man, it's an amazing idea. It's going to be so cool. He's like, what's going to be great is somebody else is going to come along and start this great idea that you're talking about. And then you'll be able to go to their shop and enjoy it, and it'll be cool. And then he goes, you know what I mean? And then just walks away. And I was like, okay, I can't let somebody else do this before me, kind of thing. And he's always really good at that. But what's great is when I brought him on, I was in 5 years of struggling. And in the next 6 months, I had done 10 times more than I had done in the last 5 years. And it just blew
clicked,
up.
yeah.
Within being partners for Trevan for 3 months, he was setting up, it was less than 3 months, setting up investor meetings and presentations and recipes, and coming over to my house at 4 o'clock in the morning to make donuts, and coming over to my house after he got off at 1 o'clock in the morning to learn to make dough. And all this stuff. And, we ended up having a partner in less than 6 months, money in less than 6 months. Not only just money, we had investors coming from 4 different places, and it was all Trev. Yeah. And then the investor that we ended up taking ended up kind of being through me, which was weird, but it was the happenstance of like having the confidence to take that meeting. And it just blew up from there. So that's kind of a long story. But
I feel like we've watched you. Well, I'm not in the small business area of our work, but like seeing you guys from a distance for so long and heard about you
small businesses
and like watch the growth. And that story is so good. And like learning how you guys, I love the balancing each other of who does what type of work, but also how you knew how to do some of that stuff.
100%. I mean, like he mentioned the blind bison thing. That's kind of what, like, I don't know, was a springboard into knowing how to set those things up and network, because all we did, like the blind bison initially, Brian Taylor and I, when we started that, it was an avenue to create a buzz to get investors to maybe open a bar one day, because liquor license in
so expensive.
Yellowstone County itself is
about
$1 million, right?
just a milli, that's it, just a mill,
just right. And we knew that was something that we weren't going to attain on ourselves, but we also needed to go out and prove that, hey, we've got a really cool idea for a concept. We've got the knowledge to be able to execute that concept if we want to do these things. And that was like a lot of putting ourselves out there and trying to get that reaction from people. So when Klay and I were talking about it and looking for the investors and stuff, I was like, hey, let's talk to these people I've met through this. All you really got to do is put your idea out there, talk about it like you're passionate about it, and people will flock, and like this won't ever happen again, I don't think. Everything was kind of like falling into place the way it should.
This is meant to be.
Yeah. We had a little over $200,000 committed in 2.5 weeks of talking about the idea.
Every investor that we talked to was like, yeah, I'm in. And it was great to have that.
Well, then you could pick the one that's going to complement your weaknesses too. Because that's another question is partnership and investment. We go through this with clients all the time. A lot of people don't understand what they're getting themselves into. They just go money, and then they sign on the dotted line, and then they don't really understand like the background to it. So like there's equity now that is this investor's, depending on how you've talked through the contract, like how involved are they in your business? Are they completely silent? Are they in there every day with you? Are they, want checkups, things like that. And so how do you guys navigate that, especially because you guys yourself are 2 partners and you brought on a third?
Had we signed with the people that we were going to in the past, it would be the picture we've painted now would have been totally different colors. It would have been totally different lines, all of that, None of them were really in the mode of creating this donut and coffee shop or had that like thought of what it could be. They were all really the money side of things, right? Absolutely, and that was their only interest in it was money. Will it make money? Will it do this? Will it do that, right? So it's really a blessing that we acquired our actual partner and investor now, Jason Hastings, because he was also trying to do the donut shop thing, or he had wanted to do that and thought it would be a good thing to have here. And like we just met him at the perfect time.
It was wild. Yeah. The happenstance was crazy.
Yeah. We were just about to sign the deal with these 3 other investors, and like we had good feelings about it. And they're not like, if they're listening to this, they're all wonderful, great people. It's not to take anything away from that, but it's just now we had somebody that was like-minded and understood what the final product was going to be.
The right fit.
The right fit.
Yeah, then, he was definitely Velcro to us for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the money side of things, especially in restaurants and stuff like that, it's a lot of up and down and then running out of money and getting money again and putting it back into the business and not having a lot at the end of the year. So it's really hard to get investors that are expecting like a percentage or
like a 10X,
certain, Yeah, expecting that certain
honestly
payback.
Something kind of ridiculous. A lot of times you get people who want like ridiculous return because there's so much money that comes into a restaurant, but then you don't realize how much money goes out.
Yeah.
You're looking at 90% go out, at a lucky point, 90% go out.
So had we had to meet those deadlines and requirements and a lot of that stuff without the grace of somebody understanding what business we were in, it would have been, I don't know if we'd still be here today, to be honest. So it's like you need to pick those people wisely, and you need to make sure they have more of an investment into it than money. You want them to be,
The blindness to the money is hard to, like that blinded by the light thing is real hard to, after the first meeting, I was like, oh, cool, we found investors. And Trevan goes, we got 2 more meetings. Calm down. I was like, okay.
Yeah,
we still have.
Because it's a reactionary decision, and that's so much of what we coach people on is you need to make strategic decisions. Don't react, because those are never going to be a good decision for you.
But that comes with experience, though.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. Is like teaching somebody that, it's like your parents trying to tell you what to do when you're a kid. You're like, whatever, like you don't know what you're talking about. And then as you get into your late 20s and early 30s, you're like, oh,
I should have listened to that.
You were so
more.
right. All that cliche crap you told me was so true.
You'll appreciate it when you're older, and you're like, yeah, I do. Yeah. So give us that timeline. So you guys rekindle, you meet again.
Right.
And then the timeline. So you talk about making donuts in your house. Like, what were you doing with those donuts? Like, give us that timeline from where it really started with the investors and things like that to what you have now.
So when we started, I always kind of like blur this part because it all happened so quick. So I kind of like throw some things out there, and he's like, hey, it actually was like this happened first and then this. But we decided we wanted to try this out. We decided to partner up. I wanted to come and learn how to do the donuts, how to make them look pretty, what made them taste good, do all that stuff.
We had probably been at Jake's working together late night bartending for probably a little over a year?
Probably a year.
And you're still working at this point, right? Like
at this point? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We were hustling for sure.
Yeah. And then we decided to kind of just give it a shot, really. And we started making donuts out of Klay's house, right? And we would pick people that we wanted to, like, give donuts to or, like, that sort of thing. We always talk about it as, like, people that are active on social media that were also our friends and things like that, but that we knew would like share these things and try and get them to the next people and show the next people and do that stuff. So it was to the point where we were making like 48 donuts a day.
Then that was, I remember the one day we were like, we got to make 72 today. Yeah. Everybody bring your game faces. Like it's a lot.
Exactly. And we were like, oh man.
Out of your house.
Out of my house. Okay. Yeah. Out of my little tiny oven that we turned into a proofer. Because we didn't have a proofer, like out of these little tiny countertop fryers that kept blowing my breakers in the 2 o'clock in the morning. Thank God my wife was so patient.
Just like the little personal ones.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. We had a big metal one, and then one side of it went out, and then we got 2 personal ones, and the amount of times we burned our fingers and,
grease burn's not my favorite.
One of my.
But eventually your fingers just like become tolerable.
Get used to it.
Fine.
Right?
Yeah, you got to dip your hand in the fryer every once in a while to remember.
Yeah.
Well, then once people were reacting to that and we saw that, people liked the product, people understood what we were trying to do and those sorts of things.
You validated your value proposition is what you guys did, which is so smart.
Yeah. And then it came a little pop-up brunch series that we did as the Blind Bison. So we did I
remember those.
It was so sick.
Harper
I've never
Madison,
seen anything.
So
right?
close.
We did
Harper
like
Madison.
7 of them.
You guys would sell out.
There's 9 of them.
Yeah, it was
immediately.
like
Yeah. So it was like
fast.
9 different chefs over the span of 5 weeks. So we had one chef on a Saturday, one chef on a Sunday, and basically they would curate a menu of the food. Blind Bison would do the drinks, some breakfast-style cocktails, Bloody Marys, mimosas, things like that were just a little elevated. And then we needed a dessert option, so that was Joni Sword's cinnamon rolls, who was caramel rolls, excuse me.
The best caramel rolls on the freaking planet.
Yeah, absolutely.
So good.
Who owned Harper and Madison at the time, who gave us this incredible opportunity. Like we definitely owe her a big thank you for that.
Such a small business.
And she's an incredible person.
She's just
all around.
amazing.
Yeah. And then it was like, okay, we need another dessert thing. And I was like, Proof's gonna, make its debut, right? And
make sure you tell them how to. You make sure you tell them.
So I build this menu and stuff that has a shout out for the chef, and it's got our drinks and stuff on there, this weird little whatever. And then I'm like, all right, get the Proof logo, put it on the menu.
He told me he wanted to show the logo to somebody.
Right. Told him I wanted to show the logo to somebody, put it on there.
He was showing it to
stuff.
someone.
He ripped the Band-Aid off for you.
Oh, for real.
Right.
He came over to my house and he goes, we're doing this pop-up series. I think you should do the desserts for it, and we should debut Proof to the public for the first time. And I still was real brokenhearted at this time, was real nervous, like imposter syndrome, which I don't want to lie, to this day I still deal with all the time. Like it's a very real thing.
Supernatural.
Oh my God. Like it just doesn't go away. And it's just, I want to touch on that for any small business owners that are listening. Like that's the biggest fight in the world is that imposter syndrome. But Trevan goes, I think you should do it this is what we're going to do. Like, are you down for it? And I was like, you know, I really don't know, man. That sounds like a lot. Like, that sounds like 5 or 6 weekends back to back to back. I don't have this figured out. I don't have this figured out. What if it sucks? And he looks at me and once again does this like Batman walk away thing and goes, well, I put your logo on the menu and they're already printed, and then leaves. He just leaves my house. And I was like, what in the world? So it was like the Band-Aid being ripped off thing. He was like, well, you're doing it. So your logo's already on the menu. Don't make me look bad. Like,
not everybody has somebody in their corner like Trevan for you.
That's what I mean. That's exactly why he became
continuing to push you to
likewise
be better. Yeah,
he's pushed me through a lot of really like trying times.
Yeah,
and we do it for each other. So
didn't realize it was going to backfire like that. Being all supportive for him,
I found kind of the ways that he really like under pressure. He executes under pressure, right? Mm-hmm. So if you give him that little bit of pressure, and then you go, "There's no way out," he's going to give you some of the best things he's ever done. And I've noticed that time and time again. And as much as he hates it in the moment, after it's over, he's like,
we did it.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Uh-huh. And this was cool because we did that, put the logo on the menu, you know, said, hey, this is the date. Be ready. I'm going to talk about it. We're going to do it. And then there were days people would come in. They would be like, we heard about the donuts. And we're like, oh, yeah, like the donuts are over here. We got this breakfast and stuff, too. And they're like, no, we heard about the donuts.
We're here for the donuts.
Yeah. Trevan would just point at me and be like, there's the donut guy. And I was like, I guess I'm the donut guy.
I would hear about the donuts.
Right.
I would hear
about same.
The donuts. I was like, this is a thing. So I went to one of the brunch pop-ups, got a donut and some brunch because I also we're brunch girls.
People.
Yeah. Oh, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
100%.
And so
you always need a sweet and a savory.
Oh, yeah.
Like you need both if you're
100%.
brunching. You can't just get one. And like, no, you have to get both.
Yeah. And yours are just pillowy.
I appreciate that.
they just have a nice bounce.
I appreciate
that. That's how you tell.
No, they're like the best donuts I've ever eaten. And I don't just say that. I've traveled around. I've eaten lots of great donuts in other countries. In the U.S., your guys' donuts are amazing.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. And that's what I mean about the imposter syndrome. Day in and day out, I'm like, we could have done so much better today. And then somebody the same day will be like, hey, man, these donuts are amazing. And I just can't. I can't take it. I can't like accept it. I still work on it to this day. I try so hard to. When somebody tells me that we make the best donuts, like it's still really hard for me to take it because of that like imposter syndrome, you know. It's very difficult.
Well, I'll tell you this too to make you feel even more imposter syndrome.
Oh, great.
My boyfriend thinks that you guys have the best breakfast burrito in town.
Hey.
And so
He's right.
I was sitting I was sitting there one day and someone posted on Billings Classifieds like, or maybe it was Billings Watchdog, and it was like
we end up on there a lot. Yeah,
I need to know where the best breakfast burrito is, and I was getting ready to go on there and be like proof donuts, and then I started reading the comments, and it was like proof. I was like, this is just perfect. Like they really do have the best breakfast burrito in town. Like it's proof. I get the breakfast fried rice because I can't have gluten, but that is my favorite.
Trevan created that
it's
randomly
so
one day.
Yeah,
we had a bunch of stuff in the fridge, and he was like, "I'm gonna put this together." And we were like, all right. And we were like, "This is amazing. Put it on the menu."
Yeah, I love breakfast fried rice, and then it's great for me. Like he can get his burrito, and I can get my
heck yes
rice bowl, and I'm good to go.
I don't want to drop it too much, but we're about to blow up brunch a little bit more. So
I can't wait.
We're working on our next big move, and it's taking brunch to the next level for things that we want to do special for the city. So we're working on trying to bring a lot more to that. So
ooh, secret time.
Right. I just want to touch back on kind of the brunch thing. You know, when we really realized that like this was something, there were people coming in to get the donuts and doing that whole thing. Like I said, you know, but there were people that were coming in, they were spending $30 on half a dozen donuts because we were selling them for $5 a piece because it was like an event thing, you know, it's special, that stuff. And I'd be like, all right, well, we'd ring them up. And I'd be like, that's $30. And they're like, okay, cool. Yeah. We heard they're awesome. We heard they're great. And then I would look at him and I'd be like, yo, did you see that? Like people want this stuff. Yeah. People are talking about this stuff. Let's execute that.
And I was just like, it's because they don't know any better. And Trevan's like, dude, shut up. That's not why. It's like, that's not why. You know. So once again, him stepping into that confidence role, it takes a lot for that. But once again, him stepping into that, and we had people coming in. Was it the second brunch that Jason came in? We had our investor lined out. We had a deal with him, but he wouldn't solidify the deal with us until he tried the donuts. And so holy crap, that was pressure. I was like, okay, here comes this deal.
Palms.
Yeah, I was like, here comes this deal. He came in, sat down, had a donut, said nothing. and left.
And then, oh no.
And he texted us later and he was like, that's one of the best donuts I've ever had in my life. Let's go. And I was like, oh my God. Like it was just, yeah, it was one of those amazing things.
The emotions between that though, knowing he ate it and then left and hadn't said anything, you guys must have been like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't think he did it to like create that tension. It was, we were pretty
It's just natural to think about those things,
we were popping, so I think he didn't want to break it up. But
yeah, that was one of those things that with all these cool forces together, it took off way more than we had anticipated.
Yeah.
So even day one, we were like, we got 9 more days of this. Are we going to do this still?
How's this going?
Yeah, by the end of the day, we're like, okay.
I remember the first person came up to order. And we were working with this young lady who was our, I don't know what you would call her, like our cashier at the time. She was the one taking orders. And the first person went to order and she like looks around and she goes, what are we taking orders on? And we were like, we don't have anything to take orders on. So we didn't have like nothing. We were like, oh, that's like the only thing we missed for this whole event was like, we didn't know where we were supposed to write down orders.
The smallest detail, right?
We didn't have a till or anything.
Then we get a napkin and a pen.
Right. And then we, not only did we like get the order passed off and now the chef knows what to make, we're like, how do we find that person again? Because then we had a line and it was like, I didn't expect to be this busy this quick, especially on day one. Yeah. And then now we were like, who had this? And it was like this total just like
first 10 minutes it was no one. First 10 minutes there was no one.
And then you start,
and then it was everyone. Yeah, it was like one of those moments where you're like, what did we do? And then everybody walked in and we were like, okay, here we go.
And I just want to like tip our hats to the chefs that we had come in doing that as well. Like each one of them had their own flair and just this cool thing that made this awesome. Like we were really set on showcasing like how much talent there is in the food scene here, and everybody brought their A game and made it so if we could do that again and like recreate that in some way, like it feels magical, honestly, when all those people come together and just like really give it their all. So it's like we'll just shout out Jeremy Evans, who's one of our chefs now as well. Vanessa Vigil, another one of those. They were kind of who we really got to work with them for the first time. And then as the shop stuff started progressing, we're like, yo, let's all get together and really
we love Jeremy.
Cool. Jeremy's awesome, right?
We do. Yeah. He did my rehearsal dinner.
Yes, the kitchen man.
Kitchen man.
We're so sad because he doesn't do caterings really anymore. So
he'll get back into it one day. He always says no, and then he misses it and does it. I'm not saying like he's going to, so don't like take my word for it.
Sorry, Jeremy. We'll come back to you when you're ready.
We had Aaron Zatar, who's been a chef around doing his thing. Jason Corbridge, also another really talented guy.
Awesome. He's doing the art house.
Yeah, doing the art house stuff. Reels over there, right?
Which I saw some of the stuff they posted. God, man, he's back on his game.
Oh, yeah.
He's back on his game.
Well,
I mean, like every once in a while, he kind of just disappears for a minute, like any good chef does, and then he comes up out of nowhere, and you're like, oh my gosh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We had Colin Nelson, who was somebody I worked with at Walker's. And
he's the only chef that we had that got to do two. So he did two completely different menus. And it was some of the best brunch I ever had in my life between all those chefs. And I brunch hard like you guys. Everywhere we go, we brunch. We find the best brunch restaurants. And that like collectively over those 5 or 6 weeks was some of the best brunch I've ever had in my life. It was awesome.
And then who else? We had Jonathan Reyes.
Reyes,
as well.
He's I love his aprons.
Vintage 86. A little shout out to them. They are awesome.
We had one more girl, and I can't remember what her name was.
We had Sophie's Kitchen come in.
Sophie's Kitchen came in, and that was right before they went to open.
It's
so
like
we got
favorite.
to debut some of their stuff with them. Yeah.
So it was this really cool. Like it was just awesome, and it was so cool to see collaboration. And if we're forgetting anybody, I don't think we are. My memory's bad, so I don't want to say it's because they didn't bring the heat, because they did, but I just forget things a lot. But it was really a cool thing, and that's like collaboration will make really cool things like that happen. And so many people think that you have to compete for the spotlight or whatnot, or for the customers or for business here, and that's totally not the case.
We like a lot of good variety.
Right? Yeah.
So it sounds like this really propelled you guys for the next thing. So you did these brunches, you finally added the logo.
You got your investor.
You got the investor. Yeah. And then what?
It was also like one of those kind of lesson learning times too, because weirdly as it sounds, we were supposed to buy Harper and Madison. That was supposed to be our first restaurant that became our brunch and donut spot. And through no happenstance of anybody's things, just the stars didn't line up. We lost the deal a week before we closed on it.
Oh, shit.
And then did the brunch right after. So it was like being in the place that we thought, it felt like hitting a mountain, like we were like, this is what we've always wanted. We've always said we wanted to own Harper Madison. We had a couple meetings with Joni, talking to our investors before we hadn't had our investor line down yet. So that was the reason that we kind of lost the deal, was because we refused to sign on the dotted line until we had all of our options weighed and made the smart decision for us. So being there and doing brunch there and seeing how that event felt was so awesome and such a learning lesson, because you think it would be a little bit more painful because we were like, this was supposed to be ours.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. It was seeing what happened and being like, holy crap, our vision's real. Yeah. Like what's happening right now is exactly how we designed it, more than we pictured it to be. And so that propelled us into what was next, because it was like the first time, I think, with the brunch pop-up and with Proof. Blind Bison had been doing their thing for a minute, so they already knew what was good,
I missed the mimosas at the farmer's market. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I got to work that event. That was a lot of fun. Those mini cheeseburgers and stuff, that was a blast.
That was like one of the weirdest things, like just even behind the scenes. Like that was one of the first times we felt like a traveling speakeasy, because we kept getting the cops called on us.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it was like really, really like frustrating at the time.
Stop it. Let the good things happen, people.
Why are you complaining about mimosas and fresh veggies?
It's because I'm going to quote our boy right here, but Gabe Espino tells us this all the time.
I love him.
We had him on here too.
He is my guy. I trust that guy with my life. He's just, him and his wife and his family are just good people. His brand is killer. The fact we got to partner with them is just a blessing on our end. He thinks it's a blessing on his end, and
I love
he's a
his
fool.
Pop-ups there.
He's amazing, and but he always says a rising tide raises all ships, and I love that. But the truth is that not everybody believes that, and when that happens, you just got to kind of keep doing your thing and find the people who believe that. It goes back to, like you said, the competition in town. Everybody thinks that everybody's competing with each other. Like, there's room here for all of us. Let's build Billings into something that's a mecca, not something that people kind of talk crap about, that Billings doesn't have cool stuff here or whatever. Yeah. Billings has a lot of cool stuff here. We just got to do it together.
And our food scene is awesome.
It is so good.
And our food trucks, like last year in the food truck battle on the Yellowstone, they had 64 food trucks.
Right.
That is crazy.
Was insane. Awesome. It's sad to see what's happening this year with the Ansel systems and a lot of food trucks not being able to make it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, those people who are going to find a way, and they're going to figure it out, because they, if they believe that they produce a good product. There's so many food trucks here that are not just food trucks. They kill the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like every time we travel, once again, I don't go to 5-star restaurants. We go to food trucks, and like the food trucks here are some of the absolute best that I've ever had.
So good.
And it shows time and time again.
We were on a radio show the other day with Leif. If you guys, know Leif Wellhaven. We were on his show, and then he goes on later to say like, "Oh, I'm doing a new food truck every week," and he's like, "We've got them scheduled out this X amount of time." And we're like, "Oh, cool! Like how many?" He's like, "Over 100."
Yeah, he said he was like just broke 100, like waiting to get on his show. It was crazy.
And I was like, "There's 100 food trucks in town."
And the crazy thing is they support each other too.
Yeah.
And I think that with the food scene is super healthy, because you see like all the chefs and the restaurants and the food trucks, well, most of them supporting each other, like going out and visiting them and posting that they have a great menu or their chef is amazing, and that just the support in that area is just so different than any other industry that I've seen, and in any other community too. So instead of going, "You're my competition, I'm going to tear you down," you guys are very much like, "You've got to go try these tacos. They're amazing."
Yeah.
And the people who don't ride that train will be weeded out. It's sad, but it's very true. Gabe runs into that issue. I don't know if he wants me to speak on this, but I will. Gabe's top dog here. Gabe's food truck is fire, has a giant following. It was 10 degrees out the other day, and he had like a line of 50 people. Like
a crazy line.
And that's the thing, is you'd never ever know that if you talk to Gabe. You'd never not get support from Gabe. Like even if you don't have a name, or if you're just starting, like you'll get support from Gabe. And there's more and more, especially food trucks, that are jumping on that train to be like, let's do this together. The food truck battle is a battle, but at the same time, it's like, yo, let's get together and show this state, that we mean business and we produce great food. And everybody's getting on that train a lot more. And I think Gabe is really leading the forefront on that too. So.
That's the consomme train.
That's the consomme train. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I had some last night. I took it to my mom's house, and my mom was like, "What is this?" And I was like, "Yeah, now you know."
I drink it. I have to get my own cup, because when I'm done, I just drink it.
Yeah, I don't share with my wife, so I feel you on that.
Yeah, like you get your own, and don't try to take any of mine.
100%. Yeah. These are fighting words. This is my food. Yeah.
This is my after dinner soup.
Yep.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah.
Before dessert. So was the location you're in now? That's the first.
The location we're in now,
on 24th.
On 24th Street. Yeah, that's the first one, and that used to be kitchen that I knew was in there was JP Kitchen.
Yeah, I loved their stuff.
Awesome. Calvin Tang is
so good.
Yeah, he's
I
a
loved
killer
their pad thai.
on the walk.
And another shout out to him. That he's just a phenomenal human. Buying his restaurant, we got to get to know him. Him and his wife Kiki are just two of the most kind souls that I've ever met, and the fact that we got to do business with them was an absolute pleasure. I love Calvin.
Yeah, incredibly genuine.
Yeah,
you know, and at being somebody that had eaten at JP Kitchen quite often, I loved it, and I knew what he was about. And then he switched from that concept to Cal's Chicken Coop.
Yep.
It was during like the big chicken sandwich craze, like the battle of the chicken sandwich that was happening on, you know, social media and just between like fast food restaurants.
Which I knew nothing of.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
No idea. Apparently it was a big deal, yeah.
It was. I remember.
Yeah.
Popeyes was like taking the cake.
And it elevated everybody else's, you know, which is crazy. And then chicken sandwiches became the thing for a while. But he had this really cool homegrown concept right in the heart of Billings that, like, I don't know if it was timing or
he opened it right before COVID hit,
like
literally like a month before COVID hit, and he had backers and got a huge grant and like was really on top of everything. It was just that was one of those things where it was just time and place, you know.
That was hard and especially opening a new restaurant when everything closed down, like nobody's going out to try you, which those first couple of months with a new restaurant really is like a good uptick for you because everyone's like, oh, I got to go try this new restaurant.
And he still made it.
Hard,
That was the thing that was crazy. Is he like it was a struggle and it beat him to the ground, but he still made it.
I mean,
he was still running a company. Like he was still doing it. He was still doing it. Yeah.
He was one of the first, I think, places around here anyway that kind of did the order ahead and then just come in and grab it and go.
Yeah.
Like he kind of like,
which is our yellow coupe still in the shop. When you walk in and you turn right, now it's filled with toys and Legos and stuff for little kids. Which we thought was an insane idea, but little kids are obsessed with it. It's great.
But anyway, that was like a really awesome concept, right? Like it looked great. The food was awesome. They were awesome. Everything about it was really cool. I would go there time and time again, you know. And then it got to the point where he was trying to sell it. And he was trying to sell it like right as we were.
God, one of those just happenstance things that was so unreal perfect. If you don't believe in those things, like the things that we've been through to get this place going, like that stuff will make you believe for sure.
It was one thing that I mentioned to Klay, like very like nonchalantly.
I said no.
Time. Yeah.
I immediately said no.
It was like, hey, this chicken sandwich restaurant's for sale. What do you think we try and like buy that? And then we, you know, try and put the donut shop inside of it, kind of introduce people to that, and then run this other restaurant on the side so that we know we have a concept that's up and working that people know about, and then we can use that as kind of a vessel to let more people know about this. And we both thought about it. We're like, nah, let's not do that. And then we were starting to build a downtown store. Right, we had met with our real estate guy at the time was Kyle Schlickenmeyer.
Schlick.
Oh, we love Schlick.
Yeah, Kyle Schlick.
We'll have to send this episode to him. I haven't seen him in ages.
100%. Get him to move back here.
I know.
Right.
Come back from Missoula.
Yeah.
He was helping facilitate our deal and finding us spots and whatnot. And we ended up looking at a place. I think it was on North 20 or North 30th. Was it 30th?
I think it was 30th. Yeah.
So it was a little spot on North 30th that was just a shell. It was totally, we could put whatever we wanted to in it. We could make it whatever we wanted it to be. The landlord, basically the guy who owned that building, was ready to do a bunch of build out with us and all that TI stuff and whatnot. But then once we got to like, we had the vision, we put it on paper, and then we're like, okay, so how much do we think this is going to cost? And it was at like $600,000, really?
It went from 250 to 600 real quick.
Real quick. So then we were like, I don't know if that's the thing. We both really
we were ready to go.
We were ready.
Yeah.
We were going to try and do it. Jason, our investor again, he was ready to basically fund that and do it. Thank goodness that we didn't do that.
It was one of those pit of the stomach things where we sat down and we were like, hey.
Does it feel right?
Yeah, it feels amazing and we're ready to go, and this is going to be our dream. Like the way we were planning on building that shop, we were talking with Bauer Construction, and they had these crazy ideas that they were bringing to the table. And we had Scott Atwood with Atwood Architecture. Rest in peace to that guy. He was one of the first people in business that talked to Trevan and I like we weren't kids with a stupid dream. And that was, I'll never forget that with Scott. But the way that we were putting it all together, it was just going to be this crazy, crazy restaurant. And we were pretty stoked on it. But then the pit of the stomach thing, we were like, we better do what our gut is telling us and do the right thing. Looking back, hindsight.
Oh,
thank God.
I'm glad we didn't, because that's a lot of debt to start out in.
Yeah.
You know?
It's an insane amount. Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, Jason comes to us one day and he goes, hey, you know, guys, this is going to sound like a really crazy idea, and I don't know if you're all about this or not, but there's this chicken sandwich shop.
Okay.
And we both kind of look at each other. Like I was really excited about it because I was like, yeah, dude, I think that's awesome. And I was like, wait, I remember that we said, thought about it again. I thought about the things and the reasons we said no before, and I was like, I don't know if we should do that. And Klay said the same thing.
The thing I bring to the table with our team is I am worst case scenario kind of person.
Okay, that's valuable.
Jason and Trevan are the dreamers. It's a really good yin and yang if that had 3 pieces. But yeah, I'm the worst case scenario kind of person. It didn't make sense to me at the time, but then my 2 partners painted a vision for me, and I was like, I trust you both.
Yeah. And
so you did it.
And then we did it.
We did it. And it happened real quick.
I remember that. Yeah.
We moved super quick.
And it was just this cool thing that really came together because we're like, all right, so now we got to figure out a way to put this donut shop inside of this chicken sandwich shop and how to make them cohesive, but how to make them we wanted them to look like rival concepts almost.
Yeah.
And the way we were talking about it, we're like, we're going to throw this donut case in there and it's going to have its own little accents. And then we're going to put stuff on the walls that kind of looks like this little sugary disease, for lack of better words.
Because your floor too, right?
We wanted to make it look like Proof was growing into the restaurant, like it was something that came in and infectiously took over, kind of thing. And our original thing that we kept saying to each other was, let's take the concept of dueling pianos and turn it into a restaurant.
Okay.
Make it so that these pianos duel against each other, but people come to see both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the first things that we looked at, or one of the first designs we saw, was basically that hexagon pattern that comes off of the counter and bleeds into the floor of, I think it was in a shopping mall.
No, it was a picture that I showed you from Pinterest because I said that I always loved the hexagon honeycomb tiles inside of a shop. I had shown them, like I said, I'd been working on this for a long time, so I had this whole Pinterest. I'm a guy that's on Pinterest. I had this whole vision board of these beautiful restaurants, and I was like, what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? And the thing that was constant in it was all this honeycomb stuff, and these guys loved it. And originally we wanted to do black on black honeycomb with, I originally wanted my restaurant to be dark wood, gold, copper accents, and eventually we'll have that for sure. We'll have that one day. It's coming. But it was kind of that. And then Jason and Trevan, had really came to me and they were like, yo, let's make this super colorful. And so we did, and it was a good move.
And I think your branding's impeccable.
We make that all up as we go.
The Proof, I know, but it's still, I think, it's very thoughtful. It's with your truck. It's the logo. It's the coloring of the tile. I can see it right now. But I think your logo that you stamp on the donut boxes, and it's perfect for a donut.
A lot of these things were accidents too. A lot of these things came to fruition because I tell this to people all the time. When we hear that, we're very grateful and we're like, yeah, thank you. Is this a chain? Because the marketing's this and the branding on everything is really great. And it's yeah, but honestly, what this really is just a little bit of each of our personalities because we each had this little idea, and instead of going, no, we'll go, yeah, let's see, let's make this zany and whimsical and fun and put all these different little ideas in there, and eventually they'll all mesh together because we all have the same vision for what it should be.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where the countertop leading into the restaurant came from. That was one of our big staple things that we knew was going to have to be on everything. Yeah. The clouds above the line.
We talked about how we like Toy Story.
Yeah.
We were like, we like Toy Story. Let's put it in the restaurant. Yeah. We were like, let's put it up there.
That's definitely one of those big things.
And a city, when you say New York, LA, Omaha, Atlanta, you don't have to say the state. I feel like in Billings, when you say Proof, you don't even have to say donuts because people know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? From a branding standpoint.
You guys have hit share standpoint.
And of course you're going to have that for those people out of town. But when you say Proof, people know what you're talking about. And if they don't, they're not from here, or they
I hope that feeling never changes.
But it's you say Proof and you're Proof donuts, maple, crunch.
It feels amazing to even have that. We had somebody comment on our post yesterday that said, hey, can anybody airdrop one of those strawberry horchata donuts to Tennessee? And I was like, Tennessee? What?
Right. Where did that come from?
That's crazy. We were in Bozeman. I was in Bozeman with my wife the other day buying her car from Subaru. And Hannah said, yeah, my husband owns a restaurant. The guy goes, oh, what restaurant? And I said, oh, it's Proof. And he goes, the donut shop? And I was like, what? It's only 2 hours away, obviously, but it's just incredible. And what I mean by that feeling, I hope it never goes away. I wish it goes back to a little bit of that imposter syndrome, is I wish that I could explain to somebody in words, when you tell me that we have the best donuts that you've ever had, when you tell me that you love our branding and all of those things, and you love our shop and the vibe, and you compare us to big cities, that literally does so much for my heart that sometimes it makes me pretty emotional. I'm a Pisces, so I'm a little emotional regardless. I bring a lot of emotion to the table with our business, but that stuff literally like almost brings me to tears when people tell us that. And I hope that feeling never goes away. I hope that we never get big enough that doesn't matter to us anymore. We'll do everything in our power to make sure that it doesn't, and I don't think it ever will. But I do see some people who have kind of lost the connection with that, and it's just the amount of joy that brings me is just unreal, and that's part of like not being able to explain to somebody when they say that to us. It's just like, oh my God, we already accomplished everything that we set out to accomplish, so everything now is like
gravy,
just glaze on the donut. You know,
except you guys are like hustlers, so I just think that like you've hit this, which you thought was like 5 years ago, you never probably would have thought that. But now you're
not even close.
But now you're already like, what can we do next? So we're going to take a quick moment. It's been so fun having you guys. We're going to take a quick moment for a sponsor message, and then we have some rapid fire questions we want to ask you before you go.
Let's do it.
Thank you to Big Sky Economic Development for supporting The Vault at 201 North Broadway. Big Sky Economic Development provides leadership and resources for business creation, expansion, retention, new business recruitment, and community development. If you are starting a business, growing or expanding your business, diversifying your customer base, or maybe you're looking for business trainings to attend to continue to learn and grow, they're excited and here to help. Even if you're thinking of relocating your company into Billings, they're a resource for you. BSED also provides resources for community development initiatives by planning, partnering, and managing projects and administering grants for redevelopment and placemaking. Their workforce development program brings together industry and education partners to anticipate and respond to community workforce needs. And they provide talent attraction and retention resources for your business to use under the community brand Better Off in Billings. BSED's Rock 31 program is focused on helping startups thrive. And in their location in downtown Billings, they have 2 floors dedicated to co-working and additional spaces throughout their building open to the community to host their meetings, events, and trainings. Visit bigskyeconomicdevelopment.org. Again, that's bigskyeconomicdevelopment.org, or follow them on Facebook and LinkedIn. Thanks for being here with us today. This has been like such a great conversation with you guys, and I can't wait to go back to the donut at my desk later after this.
What kind? Do you know which one it is?
Yeah, it's a maple crunch.
Oh, okay.
That's my favorite.
Yeah. We just put a new one on the menu that's just like it. It replaced the s'mores, and it's called the chocolate peanut butter crunch. So you have to check that one out. Yeah.
Okay. So we like to end each episode of The Vault with 3 rapid fire questions. So I'm going to first ask you guys, what's your favorite donut? Burning question.
Yeah. My favorite donut is actually that we have at the shop. It changes all the time, but lately it has been our vanilla bear claws. Yeah. We make this really awesome OG vanilla glaze that's delicious. And
vanilla bear claw.
Yeah. Okay. And the dough itself is like a testament to what's super good about like what we have at the shop.
Yeah.
If you can put something plain on that dough and it still tastes incredible, it's awesome. So that's one that I like try to show more people. We have those on Wednesdays.
Okay. Wednesdays, people. Yeah. Wednesdays. Got it.
My favorite's probably the creme brulee. I go between that and the maple bacon just because the maple bacon's like one of the OGs that I was making in my kitchen, and people thought I was crazy for putting bacon on a donut. And I'm like, in big cities, this is what they do.
This is great.
You know, but the creme brulee, just because of the effect and you know, taking it to weddings and the constant thing that it does. And it kind of gave us our name when we first started out. So I'm going to have to say the creme brulee.
Okay. What tip would you give someone looking to open a niche food business like a donut shop? I know. Sorry, I had to give you the zinger.
No, it's okay. Rapid fire questions that make you think real deep.
I know,
You're like,
they
do. You know, I guess I would just have to say that, man, how do I say this in a way that doesn't sound like arrogant or weird? I don't want to sound that way, but to lead the forefront on something that's new or a niche or something like that at times is crazy, because it's like running through a jungle, being the first one who cuts down all the trees. You're going to get hit with branches. You're going to get hit with backfire, like all of this stuff. It's going to be harder for you to get through it before anybody else. But starting those niche things is a beautiful thing, because you, instead of starting something that people like or already like, you get to introduce something to somebody that they haven't necessarily experienced before. And in that way, you get to touch people's souls a little bit. Whenever they think of gourmet donuts, if somebody's been here and we were the first place that they got to have gourmet donuts, they're always going to think of us. Yeah. And, you know, when we were growing up, as weird and as deep as this sounds, you know, your mom or your dad always told you that you could change the world. They never really mentioned to you that it could be someone's world. So I think that starting a niche place is really cool because you get to do that. You get to touch people's soul a little bit more than something that's already established, and you get to be a little bit of a trailblazer, which is a bittersweet thing. So I guess in a short way, that's what I would have to say.
I would say make sure it's what you want to do first, and that doesn't say it. That's not to be like, oh, like you're not gonna like doubt it sometimes or things like that, because that always happens. But make sure you're passionate about it, especially if it's one thing, one niche product and that sort of thing. Make sure that you are like all chips on that. Make sure you love it. Make sure you want to continue to make it better and do those things. And then don't just talk about it, be about it. Go out and do it. One of the most terrifying things is just kind of pulling the trigger and getting it done and taking that leap of faith.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of that. You know, really just take that head on and give it your all.
If you aren't all chips on the table, when you get tested, you'll learn that not all the chips are on the table. Mm-hmm. It's for when you get tested, for sure. I couldn't agree with that more.
That's one of my favorite quotes is like, don't talk about it, be about it.
Right.
I love that so much. What's your guys' favorite things about Billings? Because you both stayed you both came back.
Yeah. I'll take this one real quick just because I got something that comes to mind real quick. Yeah. And this is something that we just talked about with another chef, I think. But, it was a musician, the guy who owns Black Orchid, Peter. He's a crazy musician. He's worked with One Republic and all sorts of crazy people, which is nuts. Not a whole lot of people know that about him. But regardless, is that here there is so much untapped potential. There is so much opportunity, and there is so much talent here that goes untouched, unlooked at, and unpushed to the edge where they go out to do their thing. We were talking about food and stuff, food trucks and stuff. There is so much potential here. There is so much room for opportunity. Every time I want to leave, I remember like how I see that so much here. And I think that that's really what it is just the talent pool, and everything here is so vast and so untapped. As a business owner and an entrepreneur, there's so much room for so much. And if you're getting into it now, you can be at the forefront of all of it. You can be one of the people who changes the city a little bit.
I really like that.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And that's a big thing. Like, I'm going to touch on that before I answer that again. We do have the opportunity here to be at the forefront of that stuff. And I try and tell a lot of people that are our age that, like, you go to these other places and you experience these things and you see that those aren't here yet. Like, you have the opportunity to do that. And people have always asked, like, why are you doing that here? Why is here where you decided to do these quote unquote bigger city things, right? And I'm like, because if I were to go do this somewhere else with a bunch of people that have been doing it for years, like, I'm going to be lost under those. There's somebody who got their position higher up, and they're going to do everything they can to keep that and fight to even make sure you don't get to that, right? Here we've got a blank canvas where we can be that, and instead of being the person who wants to keep it to themselves, we can share it with other people, and we can bring other people up with us and show people what makes this city so great.
And we are Montana City.
And we are.
So you guys are paving the way.
Yeah.
And we're full of magic.
Magic City, yeah. But to answer the question in my own, it's kind of similar, but my favorite thing about here is kind of the development since being a child and growing up here. It has been, I got to grow up in a small town, but now I get to live in a city, and I've got to experience both of those things. And a lot of people are afraid of change, and they're afraid of like, oh, it's not going to be Billings anymore if we get bigger, if we turn into a city, or if we do that. And I'm like, no, it definitely will be. The only thing that's going to make it change is if you be quiet about it. If you want to keep the character of Billings, you open the businesses. You support the people that are opening businesses. You kind of put what you know about here into play, and it will always have that same character, and we can keep that. It doesn't, just because we're growing doesn't mean that gets lost. If we're growing, that can just get bigger.
That's so I've been doing some like history research for a presentation we're doing, and that touches on it so well. Is Billings, since it started in 1882, we're a young city, 142 years old, has only been growth. Like that's the only thing the city has known is growth. And it's been like those first 50 years was an insane amount of growth, but then it's been nothing but growth. So I think that is what we are growth.
Absolutely.
I think that's so good. Yeah. You guys this has been so much fun.
We appreciate it.
So where can people find you? Like your locations, social, website? How do they connect with you, find you?
So we're on Facebook. We're just Proof Donuts Coffee. For some odd reason, everywhere we went, like and was taken, so we had to be Proof Donuts Coffee, like or we couldn't put and, or it was too long of a name or whatever. So we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok. Our 2 locations are 805 24th Street West. I'm awful with our addresses.
Suite number 2.
We're in suite number 2. I always spell it sweet, like SWEET, and
which is fitting.
Post office hates it. They do not find it funny. And then what's the one downtown? I always get it wrong.
Oh man, now that I'm thinking about it, 2715 First Avenue North. We are
Suite A.
Suite A.
Yeah. Kind of across from the northern-ish walk.
Like, directly across from 10. If you walk straight across the street from 10, we're right in between Century 21 and Amber Renee Photography, right on the end. So
perfect. Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. We encourage everybody listening to go get a donut from Proof and taste how delicious they are.
Yeah, we encourage everybody who's listening to go after what you want. We did it, and it's awesome.
We can't wait to see what you guys crank out next.
Appreciate it. We got some fun stuff coming.
I'm excited. We'll be your first brunchers.
All right.
Like when you do your big brunch.
Yeah.
I brunch there now.
Yeah.
But we'll be your big brunchers.
Yeah, we're working on Japanese souffle pancakes, if you know what those are.
Yes, can't wait.
The jiggly ones. We're working on some of those. So we're working on some really fun stuff with Vanessa Vigil at the front of it. So we're pretty stoked.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to it.
Yeah,
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Make sure you are subscribed to The Vault at 201 North Broadway, wherever you podcast, including YouTube.
Connect with us on Facebook at The Vault at 201 North Broadway and Instagram at TheVault_201.
Don't forget to visit us at thevault@201.com and subscribe to our newsletter.
We will see you next time.
Bye.